thought I'd show a little rig I'm going to build, a jig for cutting long wedges. I needed some wedges the other day and I really wanted to cut them long ways. In other words, cut them this direction. And I cut them the other way. This one turned out fine. It was still dangerous to hold because you're holding it you know, the same direction as the saw. This one didn't go so well. It actually caught in the saw and, you know, blew up and jammed in the saw and ever so slightly bent my blade, which really pisses me off. And so there's times where I need these, you know, if I'm lifting a wall up or I'm just trying to wedge something where I need these longer wedges. So I'm going to build a little jig to cut wedges safely and not have to worry about them blowing up in the saw. And basically all it's going to be is a fence like this, and then it's going to have another piece. Let me make sure you guys can see that. Let's see, yep. And then all it's going to be is something that hinges like this, and then I can put a screw through this face to hold my board in place while I'm cutting the wedge. And of course you got to make sure you use the right length screws so you don't saw through screws and stuff. But for right now I'm just going to glue these two back pieces up here. So I will get the wood glue out and clamp that down real quick, and we'll be right back. Sorry guys. For those of you who have never needed a compass real quick, or when you have, you can just take a piece of wood and put a screw in it and drill a hole in the other end. You can make a pretty quick, pretty rough compass just out of some scrap like I did here. And that's just a quick FYI. Alright guys, so far what I've got is just this little, I just put two boards together with a little brace because it was pulling in. And then I just attached a hinge to another board. And I will never need it to go that far, so I'm not even sure why I cut it back so far. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this piece, and this is going to end up getting a slot in it with a screw that will articulate, and I can stop it wherever I want and then attach my board. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. I hope that made sense. Of course, I made sure my fingers weren't in the road. And then, let's see here. And so all I'm going to do here is put a little teeny bit of glue on this face, just a hint. And then I'm going to attach it to this face here with some screws. Now I think I've told you guys before I'm a fan of the Bosch tips. I didn't know if I'd need two hinges or not, so that's why I've got more than one hinge. So far, so good. Alright, so Now I've got this this sliding mechanism, which I'll I don't even know if I'll have to take it back off. I suppose I shouldn't have put glue on it just yet, or maybe not. Maybe I can cut it from the top like that. But basically, I'm going to put a slot in it for fastening a T-nut down to. So I'm going to stop the video for right now. Alright, I went ahead and drilled two holes. Oh shit, did I kick it? Yeah. I went ahead and drilled 2 holes in this. I got my bolt in. I had to use a Forstner bit to let the head in, so you got to do that. And then I made sure and drilled it as tight as I could get it so it won't come out. And then I drilled 2 holes in this, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut the slot out. Guys, I'm not sure where we last were at with this thing, but basically I've got my wing nut in here. It's a little tight on one end, but it does slide, and it slides to the whole travel. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drill 2 holes in this thing, and I've got to kind of see where this is going to land on my miter saw here. I got a mess going here with the miter saw. And the jigsaw and all kinds of stuff. So anyways, and it looks like that's too tall, so what am I going to do about that? Actually, that's going to be over out of the way anyways, for the most part. So what I'm going to do is I want to be able to cut these vertically, so I think I'm going to put 2 small screw holes in here. I actually think I am going to rip that down here real quick. So let me do that real fast. Just pull these screws out real quick. This is the only bolt I had. I would have used a much shorter bolt. It's the only one I had. I may even shorten it at some point if it becomes irritating for some reason. But I'm going to cut this down because it doesn't need to be this tall. So I'm going to use this side. That should help with hitting on the saw a little bit. And let's see, so put this back together real fast. And I've got a mess in here. I haven't had a chance to clean up, so got too many things going at once. Get these close here. And here in just a second I'll be done. So let's see here. So that should help with the height issue. And I gotta drill 2 holes real quick. So I'm going to pause you guys for just a sec while I go get the drill bit. So I'm back. I'm not quite sure where to drill these because I don't know where I'm going to need holes. So I'm just going to put them every so far, every number of places. And I went and got a drill bit that fits just larger than the screw itself. Getting a little close there. And you know, I don't know if this is, whoops, came loose in my chuck. I don't know if this is right or not, you know. This is the first time I made something like this, so we'll see if it actually works. We'll put one more row maybe for a 2x6. And there's all that good stuff. So now comes the test. Get this thing up here and get it mounted. And I don't know how far these are going to go in further than my liking. I got any short ones. I got 2 short ones. Alright. So I just happen to have 2 short screws, so they're going to go in about a 1/2 inch. That may be too much. Yeah, we'll turn it here. So I'm going to leave thicker material back here and make it thin up here. So I don't want to move. I want my screws as far back as possible. Maybe looking back on this, I would have made this piece a little longer. But so I'm just going to kind of see how this fits on here. And actually it looks like the opposite. It looks like the way this jig is going to work is it's going to make it thin in the back. So I'm going to pre-angle the blade at like 15 degrees. That way I can, what am I hitting on here? There we go. The board also wants to stick back into the part. Let's see. So yeah, I got a number of things I got to fix. That hits. And we got to get this out of the road. And I'm going to put my guard catch on so I can see what I'm doing here, because it's really in the way. And I'm just trying to see what, you know, what lines up with what here. This thing's sitting right at 90 degrees right now with no tilt. So really, I want it to go this way 5 degrees. Maybe even 10 degrees. I think I'm going to have to rip this down because it's in the road. Can I do this the way it sits? So I got a little bit of finessing to do. I may make a part 2, second jig here, but I'm just trying to see what I can get to work here. Like I said, this was necessity. I didn't actually plan this out. Alright, so one of the things I'm going to do right now is trim this down. Too tall. Alright, how much of this can I trim off? Put it on the other side. So I don't know where you guys left off because my my darn camera only records so much and then shuts off. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to, first of all, for my saw, I should have made this opposite so it tilted inward. In fact, I might still be able to do that by cutting this piece. No, I can't, the way I constructed it. Yeah, I suppose I could. Oh well. Irregardless of that, I can work on that later. I can just tilt my saw over a couple, like over to the 10-degree mark and then work with it from there. So I want the fat piece to be out here, which means that it's going to cut across it. And I want it to be all the way fat out here and all the way skinny back there. So I need to reposition the piece of wood first of all. So I've got the wood too far back. It keeps hitting on the table. So I'm going to move it forward. And I'm just going to have to be really careful not to hit these screws. And I'm going to actually make a mark at where they're at so I know how far they are sticking in. Right there. And I'm going to get, obviously shorter screws is a good thing. So now let's try this again. So I want it to hit all the way back there. And all the way up here. So at this point I'm actually just adjusting my saw because I've got to cut this. I need to miter out, if you guys are looking, I need to actually cut the bottom. You see, yeah. I need to cut the bottom back, which means this bolt would need to go back, or I could possibly trim the bottom of this off. So it's not a perfect setup this time. Might do a part 2, might not. So it just depends on how often I do this and how well I can get it to work for me. I don't know how well this would work on a table saw. It might work great, might work terrible. So I think that right there is my angle. So we'll get that tightened up and we'll go ahead and try cutting it and see what happens. And you can already see what happened. It hit on here, but it did cut all the way through except a tiny little bit in the back. So the cool thing is it makes a giant ass wedge. If I unscrew this real quick, I've got two. If I had some hardwood here, it would even be better. But there has been times where I've needed wedges for under walls and to lift them up and things. And so this was kind of out of necessity. I actually am using these big wedges for that wall. There's another series on YouTube where I was doing a wall with a man door for my shed, and I needed some of these really bad. And in the past, I've had moderate success. I was able to cut through them the short way, and then I had this happen where it blew up in the saw and was, I don't know if frightening is the right word, but I definitely was prepared for it and had my hands out of the road. So, but it still tweaked my blade a little bit, and so this rig's cool. I'm gonna see if I can improve on it, and I'll let you guys know what the next round. Do maybe a part 2. I hope this helps someone. Talk to you guys later.